The blade stopped 3 inches from my throat, held there by a hand that wasn't mine. "This human is under my protection," Empress Vaelith'ra announced, her voice cutting through the ceremonial hall like fracturing ice. The noble who'd drawn on me, some 7th son with more pride than sense, went pale beneath his silver-blue skin. I hadn't moved. Couldn't, really. When you're a junior diplomatic attaché from Earth's fledgling stellar relations office, surrounded by 8-foot-tall Keth'vari aristocrats who consider your species barely worth acknowledging, you learn to stay very, very still. "Your Radiance," the noble stammered, sheathing his blade with trembling fingers. This creature interrupted the rite of petition. He spoke out of turn. "The insult to your throne was mine to address, not yours." The Empress released his wrist. She hadn't looked at me once. "Leave my presence. All of you." The hall emptied in rustling silk and barely concealed whispers. I caught fragments, defending vermin, gone mad since the severance, no consort bond, and now this. When the massive doors finally sealed, I was alone with the most powerful being in 3 star systems, and she still wouldn't look at me. "You should not have spoken," she said. "That delegate was lying." I kept my voice steady. The trade proposal he presented, it would have bankrupted the outer colonies within 2 cycles. I've seen the numbers. I had to, you had to nothing. She turned then, and I understood why her court feared her. The Keth'vari were beautiful, in the way glaciers were beautiful. Ancient, terrible, utterly indifferent to small things that broke against them. Vaelith'ra was all of that, but there was something else in her violet eyes. Something wounded. "I'm sorry," I said, "but I won't apologize for telling the truth. Truth." She spoke the word like it tasted foreign. "Your ambassador promised me Earth sought genuine alliance. He promised your delegation would observe our customs. He promised you were different from the other young species, the ones who lie and scramble and break faith the moment it suits them. We are different. Are you?" She descended from her throne, each step precise, control. "I have ruled for 200 of your years, human. I have heard 10,000 promises. Do you know how many were kept?" I said nothing. None. She stopped before me, close enough that I had to crane my neck to meet her gaze. "Your word promises has no equivalent in Keth'vari. We have oaths bound by blood, contracts sealed in witnessed flame, vows that carry the weight of execution if broken. But promise?" Her lip curled. "I promise means nothing in my culture. It is air. It is the sound prey makes when the predator's teeth are at its throat. Then let me show you what it means in mine." The words came out before I could stop them. Something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe, or its Keth'vari equivalent. "You?" She laughed. But there was no joy in it. "A minor functionary from a minor world. You would teach an empress, if you'll let me." The silence stretched between us. In the crystalline light of the throne room, I could see the faint scars along her jaw. Ceremonial marks, I'd learned, from the severance ritual that had dissolved her consort bond 3 cycles ago. Among the Keth'vari, such dissolution was worse than death. It meant you had been judged unworthy of partnership. "What is your name, human?" "Marcus. Marcus Chen. Marcus Chen." She tested each syllable. "You have until the next moon cycle. If you fail to demonstrate this promises you speak of, I will send you back to your world in disgrace. Your career will end. Your species' petition for alliance will be denied for a generation. And if I succeed?" That wounded thing in her eyes flickered again. "Then perhaps I will believe that not everything in this universe is broken beyond repair." She turned away before I could respond, ascending back to her throne with the weight of centuries on her shoulders. I had 28 days to prove that a human's word meant something. God help me. The Empress's court operated on rules I was still learning to read. Status was everything, but not the kind of status I understood. Among the Keth'vari, your worth wasn't measured in wealth or titles alone. It was measured in bonds. Who claimed you, who vouched for you, who would burn alongside you if you failed. An unbonded Keth'vari, no matter how powerful, was considered incomplete, unstable, dangerous. Vaelith'ra had been unbonded for 3 cycles. In that time, 17 nobles had petitioned for her hand. She'd refused them all. They don't want her, Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka told me over encrypted comm, her face grainy on my personal display. She was my handler back on the diplomatic station, the only person I could speak freely with. They want the throne. The intelligence reports are clear. Half her court thinks she's gone soft. The other half is waiting for her to make a mistake they can exploit. She's not soft. I thought of the way she'd stopped that blade without hesitation. The controlled fury in her eyes. She's grieving. Grieving? Yuki's eyebrows rose. The severance was her choice, Marcus. She initiated it, did she? A pause. The reports say what her former consort's family wanted them to say. I'd spent the last week buried in archives, trading favors with minor functionaries, piecing together a story no one wanted told. He betrayed her, Yuki. Sold military intelligence to the hegemony during the border conflicts. When she discovered it, she had 2 choices: execute him publicly and trigger a civil war with his clan, or claim the dishonor as her own through severance. She took the blame for his treason, to protect her people. I rubbed my eyes. And no one knows. No one can know, or the peace she bought falls apart. That's... Yuki struggled for words. That's a hell of a burden to carry alone. Yeah. I thought of the scars on her jaw. Self-inflicted, the severance ritual demanded. Proof of your shame, made permanent. It is. The next morning, Empress Vaelith'ra summoned me to the Western Gardens. I found her standing beside a pool of luminescent water, her formal robes replaced by something simpler. Still elegant, still worth more than my yearly salary, but almost approachable. Almost. You've been asking questions, she said without preamble. About my severance, about Kael'thas. Ice flooded my veins. Your radiance, did you find what you were looking for? I could lie. It would be the smart play, the diplomatic play. Deny everything, claim cultural research, beg forgiveness for any offense. I didn't. Yes. Her eyes snapped to mine. And I think you're the bravest person I've ever met. The words hung between us. Something shifted in her expression. A crack in that glacial composure. You know, she said quietly, and yet you do not use it against me. You do not threaten exposure. You do not demand concessions for your silence. Why would I? Because that is what people do, Marcus Chen. She turned back to the pool, her reflection rippling on its surface. That is what everyone does. I'm not everyone. I moved to stand beside her, careful to maintain appropriate distance. And I promised to show you what a human promise means. Betraying your secret would be a pretty terrible way to start. You promised to show me. You did not promise to keep my confidence. It was implied. Nothing is implied among my people. Everything must be spoken, witnessed, sealed. She looked at me sidelong. Your species is very strange. We prefer charmingly unpredictable. The sound she made might have been a laugh. It was hard to tell. You should not make me smile, human. It is unseemly. Noted. I'll try to be more grim and foreboding. See that you do. We stood in silence for a moment, watching light play across the water. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Why do you care, Marcus Chen? Truly, your career, your species alliance, these I understand. But you look at me as though... She trailed off. As though what? As though you see something worth saving. The ache in her voice hit me somewhere I wasn't prepared for. Because I do, I said. Your radiance, Vaelith'ra. You're not broken. You're not shamed. You're someone who sacrificed everything to protect people who will never know what you did for them. Where I come from, we have a word for that. And what word is that? Hero. She turned to face me fully. This close, I could see the fine lines around her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. She was exhausted. Had been, I realized, for a very long time. No one has called me that in 200 years, she whispered. Then everyone you've known has been blind. Her hand rose slowly, hesitantly, and came to rest against my cheek. Her skin was cool, smooth, and I felt her pulse, jumping beneath it. You are either the most foolish human ever born, she said, or the most dangerous. This time, she definitely laughed. 3 weeks into my 28 days, the crisis came. I was in my quarters reviewing trade proposals when the alarms began, a deep, thrumming tone that vibrated through the walls. Emergency protocols flashed across my display. Security breach. Throne chamber. All personnel shelter in place. I was running before the message finished. The corridors were chaos. Guards rushed past me toward the throne room. Courtiers fled in the opposite direction, their faces masks of terror. I caught one by the arm, a minor functionary I'd traded information with. "What's happening? Kelthos," she gasped. "He's returned. He has the Empress." My blood went cold. The throne room doors had been blasted open. Inside, I saw a nightmare. Vaelith'ra knelt at the center of the chamber, her wrists bound in energy restraints. Standing over her was a Keth'vari male I recognized from archived images, Kelthos, her former consort. He'd been handsome once, probably. Now his face was twisted with something ugly. "And when I present evidence of your treason to the council," he was saying, "they'll understand why the severance was truly necessary. Why I was the victim, not the criminal." "You'll start a war," Vaelith'ra said. Her voice was steady, but I could see blood on her temple. "Your clan against the loyalists. Thousands will die. A small price for my honor restored." He gripped her chin, forcing her head back. "You should have let me die quietly in exile. Instead, you had to be noble, merciful. And now, let her go." I didn't remember stepping into the chamber. Didn't remember the guards shouting behind me or the weapons that swung my direction. All I saw was him touching her. Kelthos turned, his expression shifting to disbelief and then contempt. The human pet. He released Vaelith'ra, stalking toward me. I'd heard rumors. The mighty Empress, reduced to keeping vermin for company. "Marcus, no." Vaelith'ra's voice cracked. "Please. Go. This isn't your... I'm not leaving you." How touching. Kelthos circled me, amused now. "Do you think you can fight me, creature? I've killed enemies twice your size. I've led armies. What are you? Someone who keeps his promises." The blade appeared in his hand, then die, keeping them. He was fast, faster than anything human could match. But I didn't need to match him. I just needed to buy time. I dove left, as his first strike carved the air where my head had been. Rolled, came up near the pillar where I'd spotted a ceremonial pike mounted on the wall. My hands closed around it as his second strike grazed my shoulder, opening a line of fire down my arm. "Marcus!" Vaelith'ra screamed. I swung the pike. It was too heavy, unwieldy, designed for display, not combat. Kelthos knocked it aside effortlessly, and his fist connected with my ribs. I felt something crack. Pathetic. He kicked me onto my back, planting a foot on my chest. "This is what you chose over me, Vaelith'ra? This fragile thing? I chose nothing." She was struggling against her restraints, violet eyes blazing. "You were never worthy of choice, no?" He pressed down harder, and I couldn't breathe. "Then watch your nothing die." He raised his blade. "I promised her. I gasped. He paused. What? I promised her that I'd show her what a human promise means. The words came out broken, blood-flecked. And a promise isn't just words. It's not a contract. It's not leverage. You're babbling, creature. It's this. I met his eyes. It's dying before you let someone you care about get hurt. It's keeping your word even when it costs you everything. It's meaning what you say. Sentiment. His lip curled. Weakness. No. I smiled through the pain. It's human. The throne room doors exploded inward. Kael'thas spun as Imperial guards flooded the chamber, but not the guards who'd been chasing me. These wore different insignia, older markings. Behind them strode an ancient Keth'vari female with eyes like burning amber. Grandmother. Vaelithra's voice shook. How? Your humans sent a message, the old woman said. She gestured, and guards surrounded Kael'thas. 3 weeks ago. Detailed evidence of this one's treason, transmitted through channels he couldn't intercept. Instructions to watch for his return. Her ancient gaze found me. He said you wouldn't ask for help, that you'd rather die than admit you needed it. So he asked for you. You, Vaelithra stared at me. You planned this? I promised to show you what human promises mean. I coughed, tasting copper. We don't just make them to the person we're promising. We keep them when they're not looking, when they never know, when the only witness is ourselves. Kael'thas lunged toward me, but the guards had him. As they dragged him away, he screamed curses in languages I didn't know. I didn't hear them. The world was going gray at the edges. Vaelithra was beside me suddenly, her restraints gone, her hands pressing against the wound in my shoulder. Medics! She shouted. Now! Hey! I managed. Did I pass your test? You impossible creature. There were tears on her face. Keth'vari weren't supposed to cry. Don't you dare die. Wasn't planning on it. My eyes were closing. Still got 5 days left on my promise. The last thing I heard was her voice, broken and fierce. Hold on, Marcus. That's an order. Then, darkness. I woke in stages. First came awareness of softness, linens finer than anything I'd ever touched, a bed that seemed to cradle every aching part of me. Then came the smell, something floral and alien and somehow comforting. Then came the pain, dulled but present, radiating from my shoulder and ribs. Finally, I opened my eyes. The room was elegant, but not ornate, personal quarters rather than medical facilities. Crystalline light filtered through gossamer curtains. And sitting beside my bed, her hand wrapped around mine, was the Empress of the Keth'vari Dominion. She was asleep. Her head rested on the edge of the mattress, silver blue hair spilling across the sheets. Without the weight of her crown, without the armor of her composure, she looked younger, vulnerable, exhausted, I realized, as if she hadn't left this chair in days. I squeezed her hand, gently. Her eyes flew open. Marcus. She sat up abruptly, then seemed to catch herself, smoothing her features into something more controlled. You're awake. How long? 4 days. She released my hand, reluctantly I thought, but perhaps I was imagining things. Your injuries were severe. Human physiology is fragile. So I've been told. I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. What happened? Kael'thas, awaiting trial. The evidence you gathered was irrefutable. She stood, moving to a side table where she poured water into a crystal glass. His clan has already begun distancing themselves. There will be no war. Good. I accepted the water, our fingers brushing as she handed it to me. That's good. Yes. She sat again, closer this time. Marcus, I must ask. The message you sent to my grandmother, you did this before Kael'thas attacked. Before anyone knew, he would return. How? I didn't know he'd come back. I set the water aside, but I knew someone would. You have too many enemies, and you refuse to let anyone help you. So I made arrangements, just in case. Without telling me, you would have stopped me. I would have. She was quiet for a moment. Why did you do it? Truly. You risked your career, your life, for a woman you'd known less than a month. I made a promise. You promised to show me what human promises mean. You did not promise to die for me, didn't I? I met her eyes. I promised to prove that a human's word was worth something. How could I do that if I abandoned you the moment things got dangerous? That's not— She stopped, frustration flickering across her face. You are the most infuriating creature I have ever encountered. Every time I believe I understand you, you do something that defies all logic. Is that a compliment? I don't know. She looked away. I don't know what anything is anymore. For 3 cycles, I've been cold, careful, alone. And then you walked into my throne room and spoke truth when everyone else spoke lies, and I haven't known peace since. Vaelith'ra, my people believe that bonds are forged through ritual, through blood and fire and witnessed vows. She turned back to me, and I saw it again, that wounded thing in her eyes, except now it was mixed with something else. Something that looked almost like hope. But you bound yourself to me with nothing but words, and then you proved those words with action. Again and again. That's what promises are, I said softly. They're not magic. They're not contracts. They're choices. Every single day, you choose to keep them. And that choice is what makes them mean something. Then I would make a choice. She reached out, slowly, and took my hand again. Her fingers trembled. If you would let me. My heart was pounding. What choice? I would choose to keep you. The words came out rough, uncertain, nothing like the composed Empress I'd first met. Not as pet, or servant, or diplomatic attaché. As someone who matters. Someone I would protect, as you have protected me. Vaelith'ra, I'm human. I'll live maybe another 60 years if I'm lucky. You'll outlive me by centuries. Yes, my species is considered primitive. Your court will never accept. My court will do as I command. Her grip tightened. Marcus, I have spent 200 years making choices for my people, for my empire, for everyone except myself. And I am tired, so tired. But when I am with you, I feel something I had forgotten existed. What? Hope? She lifted my hand, pressing it against her cheek, where the severance scars marked her skin. You saw my shame and called it courage. You saw my isolation and called it sacrifice. You looked at everything I am, everything broken and scarred and cold, and you chose to stay. Of course I did. There is no of course in my experience. A tear slid down her face. So I am asking you, Marcus Chen, to teach me one more thing. Teach me how to hope again. Teach me that not all bonds end in betrayal. Teach me what it means when a human says, I promise, and means it forever. I reached up, wiping the tear from her cheek with my thumb. I promise, I said, to stay as long as you want me, and if I want you forever, then forever it is. She laughed, a real laugh, broken and beautiful. And then she leaned down and pressed her forehead against mine, and we stayed that way for a long time, breathing together, 2 damaged people choosing to be less alone. Later, there would be politics, negotiations. Her grandmother would interrogate me for 3 hours about my intentions. The court would whisper, and her enemies would plot, and humanity's alliance would become entangled with something far more personal than anyone had planned. But in that moment, none of it mattered. In that moment, there was only a promise kept, and 2 hearts learning to beat in time. Outside the window, the alien sun set over the crystal spires of the capital, painting the sky in colors I had no words for. Vaelith'ra lifted her head, and I saw my own future in her eyes, uncertain, dangerous, absolutely worth it. "I should warn you," she murmured. "In my culture, when an empress chooses a bondmate, the ceremony involves quite a lot of fire. Good thing I like a challenge." She smiled, really smiled, for the first time since I'd known her. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I would spend the rest of my life earning that smile. Some promises, after all, are worth keeping forever.